And Brother Walter, you posed a question that contains in it certain assumptions. So you were saying that given the levels of debt, given the fiscal position, what are the options for labor? Now, I will confess that when I read the topic of these ideas about what the economy looks like and labor, I read labor to mean not the political organization of labor, but to mean work and workers, right? So I take a bit of a different tack, and also you're going to have quite the time pulling all these threads together, but I take quite a bit of a different tack from Brother Jeremy here, which is to sit back a bit and look at what is the future of work and what are the issues that workers are going to be dealing with in the domestic economy. But of course the domestic economy is being constrained and fashioned by a lot of factors in the global economy. And the question for me really is, what are the opportunities for work and workers? And then how can those of us who support work and workers, and I assume that to be all of us, how can we support that new agenda? Now, one of the things that has been clear for some time is the high transport costs and the high, Jeremy mentioned it just now, the high costs of labor as an economic input to all economic activity in Barbados. We have high costs of transport locally. We've been having this conversation about freight costs, but the other input to economic activity also has to do with domestic transport costs. So once goods are landed here in Barbados, they also then have to be moved. Once goods are moved between, say, the Middle East and Miami or nearer ports, the intra-regional and the domestic transport costs are also very, very high. There's another factor, and it is in your broader topic for the week of activities, but not in the specific topic tonight, which has to do with climate change. And it has to do with the risks that are posed by extreme weather events and so on. And all this means that the traditional patterns of work and labor and economic activity are being threatened. So when traditional businesses that depend on the movement of goods especially, that depend on people and other things to move around in order to deliver services, when those patterns of economic activity are threatened, then the regular patterns of work and workers are also threatened. Because the traditional kind of work that one would normally expect to see thrive and that would be based on a typical industrial model will then start to disappear. And I'll tell you what I mean. We are seeing more and more now that a big part of the future of how work will be organized is based on a few things. One, on the gig economy. So people who are offering services especially, but are not part of a formal market. Two, on the delivery economy, and we saw this during COVID, where people stopped wanting to move even after they were able to move. And so the delivery economy started to take over and started to play a much larger role. But the third really has to do with what I see as a big part of the future of work for a place like Barbados and a region that has very high transport costs. And that is to move towards industries with very low transport costs. And what are those? Anything that requires you really to just hit send on an email or to just transmit something electronically is really has to be a big part of how we shape work for the future. Because in that environment, it means that we are less vulnerable to the things that would typically affect a country such as ours. High costs of moving around, high costs of moving goods at the port, as well as vulnerability to extreme weather events. Because if we have a hurricane and things can't move, if we have containers that are stuck on their way to Barbados, if we continue to base our industrial policy on movement of goods alone, work and workers are going to continue to be challenged.